Welcome to True Crime Chronicles. If there is one person the US authorities don't want escaping from prison, it's the notorious Mexican drug kingpin, Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. This man, from meager beginnings, the son of a farming family from Sinaloa, became enemy number one in the United States and a very rich man too. They have him locked up now, but El Chapo has escaped from prison before. Not once, but twice. So right now, he's guarded like no one else on the planet. Could this criminal Houdini get out again? El Chapo's first escape. Let us take a look. First, let's look at how he got out of prison the first time. The headline in the Los Angeles Times in 1993 read, "Mexico arrests reputed top drug kingpin." He was apprehended in Guatemala near the Mexican border. He was charged with murder, abduction, and of course drug trafficking. Authorities stated he was behind a vast drug trafficking network and a big tunnel that spanned from Tijuana to San Diego, through which narcotics were transported. As you shall see, digging tunnels was a speciality of Guzman and his team. He was extradited to Mexico and sentenced to 20 years and 9 months in a maximum security prison. He is claimed to have ruled the area and resided there in comfort, with the guards following his instructions. While he could easily conduct his operations from there, he was increasingly concerned about extradition to the United States. It was time to leave. He made his first attempt on January 19, 2001. When Guzman hid in a laundry basket, a jail guard called Francisco El Chito Camberos Riviera unlocked the electronic door to his cell. He was forced through a succession of doors till he emerged through the main door. He was then driven to a predetermined location in the trunk of a car, and when the time came, he was released. He took out into the night when he realized he was correct. He was gone in an instant. It may sound too simple, yet it was discovered that he had not only employed guards, but also the jail director. Even the officers were bribed to facilitate his escape into the night. This proved to be an embarrassment for the Mexican government. Guzman paid around $2.5 million in bribes. So this won't happen again, right? Wrong. He kept doing what he was doing and became Mexico's most wanted man, but he escaped capture. El Chapo's second escape. Then, on the 22nd of February 2014, he was apprehended again. This time by Mexican and US police. They had him and they assumed that was the end of it. He wasn't about to bribe his way out of jail this time. When he was being transferred, he was summoned by the military and police. Even the A-team couldn't come up with a scheme to help this guy out of trouble with the authorities. He was locked up in a more confined place this time. There were no windows in his cell and he had little contact with anyone. He was in a stark cell with no frills this time. He got a bed, a shelf, a shower, a toilet bowl, and a basin. He was permitted to visit and he was entitled to the maximum amount of money to purchase hygiene supplies. That was roughly $48 US, which was not much for a man worth millions. He was allowed to leave his cell for an hour every day, but the guards were not allowed to speak with him. How could he possibly escape a second time? On July 11, 2015, he did precisely that. The security cameras had a blind zone, and that was where the shower was. He was spotted heading to that portion of the cell at 9 p.m. that night, and then he vanished. El Chapo's crew had been excavating a tunnel for months, with the goal of that shower cell. The digging had been so loud at times that some of the other detainees had complained about it. Emma Coronel, El Chapo's wife, was a key figure in the breakout. El Chapo had arrived near the prison where the drilling had begun, and he'd even sneaked a smartwatch into his cell so the diggers could know the locations. This was a good way out, and the tunnel offered air and illumination. El Chapo utilized a motorcycle to escape quickly, but it was particularly designed to go on rails. This device was also employed in the excavating process. The tunnel was later estimated to be 0.93 miles, which is about 1.5 kilometers long, 1.7 meters high, and 30 inches wide by authorities. El Chapo had to descend 33 feet underground using a ladder. He was a free man once more. El Chapo versus ADX Florence, the world's securest prison. His independence, however, did not last long. Guzman escaped during an armed raid on a house on January 8, 2016 using tunnels once more. However, he was apprehended shortly afterward. The US wanted him again and processes were underway to extradite him. Guzman's men did everything they could to prevent this from happening, including assassinating a federal judge. It didn't work. He was finally extradited on January 19, 2017 to the USA, exactly 18 years after his first prison escape. He just vanished following his sentencing, in which he received life in jail plus 30 years. That's because the safest bet on his way to prison was to take him to an undisclosed location. Even Guzman's lawyers were unaware of his whereabouts. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. It was then reported that he wound up in America's maximum security jail. The US Penitentiary Administrative Maximum Facility is located in Florence, Colorado. ADX FLORENCE. In prison words, this is the end of the road for the worst of the worst. There are many more guards than convicts here, compared to comparable jails. Inmates are locked up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. When they're permitted to leave, it may be at any time of day or night. So even if a plot could be created, the folks on the outside would have no way of knowing when their individual was out of his cell. The cell measures 7 by 12 feet and has a bed, a stool, and a desk constructed of poured concrete. The cells are soundproof so prisoners can't shout and communicate with others. Inmates never know where they are in the institution since they cannot see through a window to determine their position. Even when they can exercise, it's not in a yard, but rather in an empty swimming pool where they cannot look over the walls. It's not a huge one, and walking from end to end just takes 10 steps. Motion detectors and cameras are installed throughout the jail, and the strong steel doors can only be opened with a remote control. Officers watch all areas of the jail from a control center, and if anything unusual occurs, they may press a panic button, which will automatically lock all of the prison's doors. If someone could escape past the pressure pads and cameras and get outside, they'd have to scale a 12-foot or 3.7-meter razor wire barrier in front of highly armed guards in one of the numerous towers. Other guards are seen walking about with attack dogs. Guzman is most likely in the most guarded unit of this ultra-tight jail, known as Range 13. By the way, guards at this jail are checked to ensure that no one who is corrupt is hired. They are instructed to communicate with convicts as little as possible while working. Most people believe that proof escapes them, and it's not a pleasant place to be. The Supermax, a former warden, once characterized it. Others have commented on how peaceful the facility is, because no two convicts move at the same time. It's incredibly clean and everything is pristine, so journalists who have been are pleasantly impressed. If it weren't hell, it would appear as brilliant as heaven. One warden described it as a clean version of hell. I don't know what hell is, but I do know the assumption would be, for a free person, it's fairly near to it, he told 60 Minutes. The aim is to progressively break a person down emotionally and physically, via environmental and physical deprivation. One convict explained, "It's like having the whole place to yourself for a prisoner." Some have stated that because of this, the only way a prisoner might escape is if they had the jail warden in their pocket, which would never happen. There are around 400 convicts, including Ted Kaczynski, the Unabomber, and Terry Nichols, the Oklahoma City bomber. Guzman may forget about buying land around the location only to be close to it. This jail is in a secluded place with nothing nearby for miles. Visitors have come to see Guzman, but only his lawyer and his 2 kids have been permitted to see him. He's unable to touch anyone who comes to see him. He told his lawyer that he frequently spits up, gets migraines, and has sinus problems as a result of the harsh conditions. He claims it's difficult for him to sleep because the lights are always on. If prisoners do want a break from the monotony, they at least have a TV, but that only plays religious and educational programs. Another ex-prisoner described this location in the following words: "Supermax is austere, and it's managed with strict organization and security in mind. But if the man known as Papillon escaped from the notorious Devil's Island penal colony, and if those 3 guys did escape from Alcatraz, maybe no prison on Earth is 100% secure." Just about anyone in the corrections business would disagree, but maybe El Chapo could come out of this one. What are the chances of Mr. Guzman escaping from the place nicknamed the Alcatraz of the Rockies? Let's think about it. If he were to get out of his cell, maybe he'd have to do that by bribing a guard, but they've been vetted. Perhaps the only way a guard would offer him help would be because Guzman's men had kidnapped his family. But as only one man moves at a time, that prisoner is watched from the control room. We just don't think he could get out of the front door. He certainly couldn't get past those pressure pads, the guards in the towers, the guards with the dogs, and over a massive fence that would cut him to pieces. All the time, everything is caught on CCTV. He would need a small army on the outside, and since the location is in the middle of nowhere, that army would be seen. Please remember to like this video and subscribe to the channel. See you next time.